I think you're going to enjoy this. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our fantastic panel here. First up, you just got a tease that he's here. This is the star of the PITT. He plays Robbie. Please welcome Noah Wyle. And should I say he's nominated for a couple of Emmys? Lead actor in a drama series, and as an executive producer too of the show. It's got 13 Emmy nominations, which is really incredible. One of those Emmy nominations, supporting actress in a drama series. She is a veteran, has done so much great work over the years. She plays Dana, wow, the charge nurse, and she got punched in season 9. If you saw that, she's living to tell about it. Here's Katherine LaNasa. And like Noah, this gentleman who is executive producer, showrunner, creator here, veteran of ER, you may have heard of that little show, and many other television shows and other works. Please welcome our Gemmill. Okay, well, what's going to happen here is we're going to do a Q&A, unusually, before they see the show. So spoiler alerts, beware. How many people have seen the finale of the PITT? All right, so you sort of know what happens, but for the rest of you, you're in for a real treat as well. It's the whole season is extraordinary. Noah, I have to ask you, let me start with you. Obviously, you played John Carter for all those years. You got 5 Emmy nominations for ER. And so you spent a lot of time in the emergency rooms, let's say that. What's the whole thing about coming back to this? Was there an idea to bring back John Carter maybe, or not?
Initially, that is where this was born. It was sort of born in 2020. I'm a theremin, I'm a human theremin. It was born in the pandemic with a desire to sort of tell a different story than we told before with ER, but about a very contemporary issue, which was what was unfolding during the pandemic. And it seemed like the most appropriate delivery system would be to revisit the old character and sort of walk it through that way. And then that became a non-starter, and gratefully so, because it allowed us to sort of tell the story fresh without any attendant baggage or backstory, and really focus it on what we wanted to do.
Well, Robbie, as everyone calls your character, is such a complex and interesting guy. I mean, really, you get to go places in this, and they are shooting season 2 right now. They're on to episode 5 or 6 already. And so they promised to tell me absolutely everything that happens in season 2. No, they haven't. But I'm guessing from what they're going to see here with the finale and where your character goes, and a lot of emotion and emotional kinds of moments there, that we're going to see him go in an interesting direction in season 2 too, I imagine, with the mental health and all of that.
Yes. But in season 1, the character Robbie is haunted by ghosts that he hasn't quite dealt with, and you're watching him on the day that he's going to drown, and he doesn't know that he's going to drown, and circumstances are going to keep raising the water level until he's out of it. Season 2, he can't pretend that there isn't a problem any longer, but in season 2, all of our characters have been through something rather significant. So it's really it becomes more of a generalized storytelling point to make sure we're checking in with the healthcare of all of our practitioners.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Scott, you know, being the creator, the one that's bringing us back, and you worked on ER for so long as well. Talk about the challenges now, because this is on streaming essentially, and so that's different than being on a network. What are the to be sure. And having seen this series, I can tell you, you get away with a lot more than you would on NBC in terms of the graphic nature of what goes on an ER.
Yeah, I mean, it's very freeing for us. It's a new format. I had not worked on a streaming show. And yes, we obviously there's a lot more leeway with language, a lot more leeway with some of the procedures we show. But at the end of the day, it's still it's stories about people and human condition and how they interact with each other. So, we are allowed to not have music. I don't think we would have gotten away with that on a network show. So we were able to do a lot of things and doing the 15 hours in one day. I don't know if we could have, I suppose we could have done that, 24 did it, but I just feel like we tried to do so many things differently for us so that the show felt different, and I hope that we achieved that.
Do you know going into the season, like right now you told me you're finishing up the first 5 episodes, and then you've written the first 8, but you have not written the back end. Do you know going in, you sit in the writer's room, you know exactly where you're going with the characters, how it's going to end, or do you sort of come along?
Yes and no. I have I know how I had to, because it's a little complicated because we do shoot in Pittsburgh. For a few days every year. And in order to do that, we have to, because of the weather and making the schedule work, we have to shoot in September. So basically next month, any scenes I want or we want in the last episode have to be shot already, be shot then. So you have to sort of know how you're going to end the show. And that's a little scary sometimes because you don't know if things aren't going to work or you're going to get there and it's not what I wanted to do, but we were really lucky, and you have a good plan and you try and stick with it, but you also, I like to hold things a little loosely so that if opportunities avail themselves, you can take advantage of it, and things that you might not have planned. It's great to have a plan. I like to have a plan, a backup plan, a couple backup plans, but also be really willing to embrace a moment when something you haven't planned happens, and so if you're too rigid, you miss opportunities. So.
Well, I get with the weather what you're talking about, because they don't know this, but the second season is set, the day it's set is the 4th of July. So that could be problematic if...
Yeah, and I think part of it is none of us want to shoot in Pittsburgh in the wintertime, I think that's...
Especially snowing on the 4th of July wouldn't really work. No. Let me talk about this Emmy-nominated star sitting in between the two of you here. So well-deserved, and a long career on the stage and in so many things, and you just nailed this character. She's terrific and has a great accent too. Pittsburgh. Did you really study to have that Pittsburgh accent just perfect?
I like to say a lot of tears. A lot of tears went into it. Yeah, I actually got a couple weeks into it, and I just had a meltdown. Like, why am I doing this? Why can't I just be like a regular actress and just do a regular accent? And my acting, like, why do I always have to be so detail oriented? And I think in part it's because I'm from New Orleans, I'm from the South, and so many people will do a Cajun accent, but they're in Atlanta, or a dead accent that doesn't exist anymore. And it infuriates us Southerners. So just out of respect to the people of Pittsburgh, I didn't want to sound like I was from New Jersey. I didn't want to do something vaguely East Coast. And so I was watching, I was really struggling with it, and I didn't really have the right person to help me at first. And I had watched Mayor of Easttown so much that I was listening to it in my bathtub, and the extras rolled at the end of the season, and they started talking about the accent, and then the dialect coach came on, and I jumped out of the bathtub and was like, what's this? And so I contacted her. I went on IMDb Pro and contacted her, and she directed me to a woman from Pennsylvania that helped most of the other actors. She had only worked with Kate and maybe someone from the UK. And I worked with Suzanne Solby is her name, and she gave me that accent, and she's just quite equipped, and I just built it, sound by sound until it started to come naturally. But it really didn't. It's very muscular. And my acting coach that I've worked with pretty much on everything for 30 years, Martha Gaiman, said, is there any way that you would go on stage and play this character and not do this accent? And I said, no. She said, well, then just keep going. So, yeah, I was terrified. I really was terrified for, all of episode 1, I didn't start to feel okay until, a little further in.
You should have been terrified with episode 9, is the one I'm talking about. I mentioned...
Episode 9 was great. Noah wrote it.
The one, you get punched by this horrible patient who's just very
Drew
impatient.
Powell,
And you have a black eye for the rest of the season.
An actor's dream.
That was crazy.
It was great. It was great.
Is that in your research and things? Do you talk to nurses? Do you talk to people where this actually happens?
I didn't get to talk to them about violence too much, but I did go. I keep talking about Kathy Garvin, who my character in some ways was loosely based on, and I went to visit her at County, and she said, yeah, that they all get kicked, they all get hit, they all get punched. That's part of it, Yeah.
It's wild. Two of the nominations for this show are with the makeup and the prosthetics, and I read a piece about it. It's extraordinary what they do. Noah, can you talk about working with all of these things that go on in the ER very realistically, very graphically, what I imagine you've studied a lot of doctors in your time here, what they do, so.
We always had to stop at a certain point on ER. Standards and practices would only allow us to show certain things. And in order to really capture the reality of the environment, that was one of the aspects we wanted to push the envelope on. And the technicians and the equipment have gotten a lot more sophisticated from the old days. So the photorealism that we're able to employ is really uncanny. And everything from a full chest cavity that has inside of it a heart that beats because there's a puppeteer under the gurney who's beating it, and then lungs that are beating in time that another puppeteer is working with somebody else who's squirting fluids through tubing, all of it working in concert with the actors, all of it resettable so that we could shoot take 2 and take 3. And then, I think the most impressive one of all was the delivery scene that we did last year, where this lovely actress, Anuka, was basically sitting in a chair like I am, but her entire belly was a prosthetic, her legs were a prosthetic, and if you've seen the scene, everything else that you saw was a prosthetic. But as an actor, I've never been able to not act more. Everything I said I was doing during the delivery of that baby, I was actually doing. And the baby that came out was a robot that was squirming because there was a guy with a remote control on the other side of the room. It's so graphically real that the immersion that allows the performers is I've never experienced before.
I've never seen it as a viewer, and I am a class A hypochondriac, so for me to get through the first 2 episodes was a real challenge, and I'm glad I did, because this goes way beyond just being a medical show and things. It's a very human show. That's what we see coming through here.
Scott lays down the gauntlet early. He shows you a naked man running through the emergency room and a degloved foot. And it's sort of like, would you like to stay?
Honey, wake the kids.
It's amazing. It's amazing in that way, what this show does in the time that you have to shoot it. The camera work, everything, it's constant movement. It's constant movement through this room. It's a trauma center, and then it's the emergency in the trauma center. So you're getting the worst of the worst and placed in front of you. But
mentioning the photography and our DP, Joanna Colejo, and our set, designed by Nina Ruscio, it would have been lovely to have them recognized as well this year along with us. I think their work is really exceptional. Sometimes the most exceptional work, it goes unnoticed because it's so organic. That's certainly true with both of them.
Yeah, now that you mention it, yeah, you have 13 nominations, but boy, did they deserve them as well. Well, you got more seasons to come and more opportunities. I hope you're all voters out there applauding us here. Yes. Oh, good. Talk about the casting, Scott, how you put this incredible cast together. And I know there's some new actors coming into season 2 as well. But...
Yeah, casting was, it was a real, it was a lot. Because what we decided we wanted to do as part of also being very, very different was we wanted all new faces. And so that's really kind of challenging, for the young med students and, trying to find actors who are really good but have never worked before or haven't done a lot of work. And so we threw a very wide net and, some of our actors came from England, from Australia, Atlanta, Chicago, New York. We were all over the place. But what we ended up with was just amazing. I mean, just the greatest cast I've worked with ever, and everyone gelled so fast, and they were so facile, even though a lot of them had very limited experience, but everybody I think partially also because we're always on the same set, and so that becomes your stage, right? That becomes your playground.
I want to piggyback on that and say, when we were referring back to the set, for me, the set has been such a big part of it. It's so immersive. My desk is my desk. I feel sort of territorial. If someone comes and sits at my desk, I'm like, why are they at my desk? And it's like, as if it's my desk, but I actually have my candy and my scripts and my glass, all that stuff's in there. I'm like, that's my desk. So, but I feel that we all wear scrubs, and the way that we shoot is so different than the way that you shoot normal shows. You'll shoot everything in Trauma 1 and then everything in Trauma 2 for the episode. We go in order, and we all we do the scene, we lay it out, and they come around with the cameras, and then we all just kind of figure out what we're gonna do, and we just stand around and do it. So it sounds weird, but it's the most relaxing show I've ever worked on. You start to just feel like you work there, the clothes are comfortable, and we don't use a lot of invasive lighting, and we don't use any marks. And so it's all just very, very fluid, and I do think it's part of what has led to the naturalism of the actual work of the acting, is the immersive set and the way in which we shoot.
And we all work background for each other. That's the other thing, is we're all, today you got called early to maybe be seen in the distant background because we were shooting towards where your desk is. That's sort of par for the course. You don't really have days off. You're just going to be seen or not seen. You might have a break in the day to go back to your room for a while, but it's this sort of all in, all day, every day at fosters that sense of realism, and the testament of the casting isn't so much the talent of the performers, but their ability to get along with each other and take the work seriously and not take themselves seriously, especially in success, and that is extremely rare. That kind of lightning strikes apparently only twice in a lifetime.
And Scott, it's very important what he's talking about here too. All the background players are amazing in this. And the fact that the entire season takes place in one day, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. out, it's important to make that really work.
Well, we have 2 script supervisors. I mean, that's how complicated it sort of is. There's one script supervisor reads the script as you're shooting and makes sure, takes all the notes for the director of what shots. And we have 2. One does all the hero stuff, all the main cast, and then the other is sort of making sure all the background is going, and all the background that you see, all the people in the rooms that even if they're not featured as a story, we know their name, what their condition is, or what time they're supposed to go to the bathroom, or what time are they supposed to eat. All that stuff is, there's a lot of extra work that goes into it, but it pays off in the verisimilitude, I think, that you end up with that feels so real. I mean, I always say it's a shame when the show's over we can't donate our set to a small community for a hospital because it's so good and all the equipment is real. There's millions of dollars worth of equipment.
Well, you may have to. You may have heard they're cutting Medicaid and a lot of small hospitals, not just one, but a lot of smaller hospitals may be closing.
Not insignificantly, times being what they are in the city, a lot of our backgrounders SAG performers who are getting their days in by working background. So when their investment in the scene is an actor's investment, it's not a cross. It's a character choice with an intention, and that is palpable. It's palpable in front of me. It makes me try harder. It's palpable when you watch it. It makes the whole thing feel real.
Yeah, I mean, we have, like, on no other show, we have really close relationships with the background. And, you can pull this person, and all of a sudden, send me Charlie, send me Heather, send me so-and-so. And then, I call it making puppet shows. And we make little things, and, we make little vignettes that we repeat in every take. And,
There's many movies going on.
yeah, I call them puppet shows. And so we have all these little puppet shows that we make, but we depend on them, and they're such an integral part of how it works. They actually know how to work all the gurneys, and they understand what we're doing, and they understand the naturalism of it. I mean, they're just it's this massive other bigger acting body behind the front men, but they're a massive part of it, and we owe a lot of the naturalism of the work to them.
I wanted to ask, talking about how pertinent this show is, and how, when you're writing it, so much stuff is going on in the world of health right now, and hospitals, and of course, Health and Human Services is being run by RFK Jr., and I just saw, driving here, I was listening, and he responded kind of in a weird way to the shooting at the CDC just a couple of days ago, where a cop got killed protecting them. Fortunately, nobody in the building did, and he's dead too, the shooter, but it was all because he was upset about vaccines from COVID and things. That kind of thing happening right here in the news. Do you think about all these things going on in writing it? Because I should say that Noah is not just starring in it, not just producer on it, but also is a writer on the show and a director.
We're going to find out whether I'm a director.
That's for season 2. He's going to direct.
We'll see, but I did write a couple. It's a great question. We spent a lot of time in the writer room, and Simran Baidwan is also here.
Yes, that's one of the writers there.
We have a great team of technical advisors led by Dr. Joe Sachs, and because of Hollywood Health, who reaches out to all these different spheres of healthcare. We meet with experts, and they tell us, what it looks like from their vantage point. And then we ask them to look into their crystal ball and say, what's the world going to look like in 10 months when these shows air? And they have worst case scenarios, and they have contingency plans for that. And we ask them what would they like to see on television, and what would be of use to them in their work. And those become our storylines. But that was a year and a half ago. That was when events were changing on the ground relatively slowly, and you could make these kind of predictions. It's almost impossible now, I would imagine, to guess what the world's going to look like in 10 months, and we're doing the best we can.
Yeah, it's. I would say that's one of your biggest challenges here, is keeping this as relevant as possible, because the viewers are so tuned in, because their whole lives, every day, they're listening to the news, they're seeing what's happening here. Of course, it's great fodder in a way. Unfortunately, but it really does give you a world to deal with, Scott, I would think.
What's great about the reason we go to the ER as a story engine is because it is the safety net for our entire community these days. And everything that shows up, all of society's ills show up in the ER first, usually. That's the first place we saw AIDS, COVID, the opioid crisis. Whenever there's a mass shooting, it ends up in the ER. So it's just this crucible of society's, everything that goes on in society is reflected in the ER on a day-to-day basis. And whether it's people who aren't, because of Medicare, they don't have Medicaid or Medicare, then they end up coming to the ER. And the ER becomes their primary source of, healthcare. And so we're dealing with that. And the system is, teetering on collapse.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. I have to ask you, Noah, for all the years you've played a doctor on TV, and they always say, I just play a doctor. How many people come up to you and ask for medical advice?
Tonight or in general? What's frightening is the way that I answer the question with increasing confidence. That's what we should be most concerned about. Not their delusion into thinking I can help them, my delusion into thinking I can. Yeah, it's been a great conversation icebreaker for now almost 30 years.
Wow.
But for 30 years, I've been able to watch changes in healthcare, but more importantly, build relationships with people in that sphere. And I can't say enough how high of a pedestal I hold them on. We should all hold them on. You know, they are selfless, they are tireless, but they aren't inhuman. Like, they are fragile, and this is an unsustainable situation. So this show's intention was to put the spotlight back on the people that we need in those jobs for the next crisis. And right now, those ranks are thinning and their morale is flagging. So to show them in a heroic light and hopefully inspire a new generation to want to go into this line of work is also part of the intention.
It's amazing. And I know they're saying to me, I just have a few minutes before we do this, but Katherine, I wanted to ask you too, because you are a cancer survivor.
Yes.
And you've gone through, yes. And so you've gone through this whole medical thing for real, in real life too. How did that inform you on this show?
Wow, you know, I was just treated so beautifully at Piedmont in Atlanta when I had cancer. It was really, it really mattered so much. You know, the kindness of the healthcare workers. Some particular people stand out a lot. I was actually pretty brave during all of the cancer. I knew it wasn't going to kill me, and it was a survivable cancer. I had breast cancer. But I had a bunch of complications after, and I kept going back to the ER and had to stay a few nights there. And the last time that I went back, I really just thought my disease was like a zombie and I wasn't going to get well. And I had a breakdown in triage. And the nurse there did just the way that she was with me, that she didn't need to be, the generosity of her person. She took me aside and just like right in my eyes, like, listen to me. She goes, this isn't going to stay like this forever. My sister-in-law just went through something like this. The first 6 months after cancer are really bumpy and you're going to be okay. And do you need an Ativan? I know, exactly. But you know, that it struck me so much how we are to each other matters. And I think in a way doing the show has softened me as a person, you know, just realizing how much our connection to each other matters. And also you realize doing the show that you really don't know what's going on with people, you know. But I really wanted to honor, you know, the people that treated me with Dana. So it was very, I have to say, it was very spiritual to me, you know, that I felt like I was having a hard time getting a job, and then going through the cancer. It was a rough period, and then getting this job was really like, oh, a testament of faith. It was really beautiful, and it has been just one of the best experiences of my life. I feel so grateful.
So great. That's great. And obviously, Noah, they said at the beginning, too, your mother involved out here.
My mother.
Your mother.
That's where it all started.
Yeah. Big empty. Big
my mom has been a hero in my life. All my life. Love you.
And all the great work out here at this hospital and home.
She's just greasing the wheels so I can get a room here one day.
Don't we all want that?
Just a little insurance policy. No, my mother's been a nurse for 40 years. She keeps her license up. She just celebrated her 80th birthday recently.
Wow.
And she never stops giving back.
So great. Well, you're in for a treat if you haven't seen this, and if you have, it's really, there's a lot to catch actually, and it's a second time too, I have a feeling. The show is The Pit. It's nominated for 13 Emmys. I wish you all the best of luck at the Emmys with it, and thank you for coming out here and talking about the show.
Thank you for coming out.
And enjoy the show.